the trials and tribulations of trying to run an empire.
I thought you were making plans to come visit me. I got excited.
Well, you know what? Scotty said to me the other day,
Yeah.
he said he was talking to someone, probably just the agent that we've actually used on a few occasions, tentatively booking. And I think when we did whiskey a while ago, we did 2 nights at the whiskey before we got on the ship.
Yeah.
And so he says to me the other day, he said, I don't think we can put America in next year. It's pretty crammed.
Yeah.
He said, so what about the year after? And I said, the year after is 27. And he says, yes. And he says, I said, well, yeah, okay. I said, because we did say initially, even though we're officially, so to speak, retiring on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, 26, 27.
Yeah.
That's 50 years. And we bow out on that night.
Right.
I said, we've always discussed. We thought, well, we'll make ourselves available for, because our German management. They said, we might be able to get you back here for the couple of years after 26. Just to do maybe just to do 2 or 3 weeks and just do festivals and some clubs. Would we be open to that? And we said, yeah. I said, because I think we'll still want to play as a band. Well, I know we will. We'll still want to play as a band.
Yeah.
But we won't. What we're retiring from is the weekly work, because here in Australia, we can only work the weekends.
Right.
Bands very, very rarely do tours anymore where they work during the week. And then only usually the Wednesday and the Thursday, or the Thursday and the Friday and the Saturday, because the venues don't run live entertainment anymore like they used to.
Yeah.
They have...
even the US is like that a little bit too now because of...
I think it's all over, sure.
Yeah.
I think it's because Ronnie, who spent a lot of time in Los Angeles playing, their tours, when they go out for 4 to 6 weeks or whatever. But when they're around at home in Los Angeles, they tend not to work often at all.
Yeah.
They're just
the fly-out dates now. A lot of them are fly-out dates for the weekends and big shows.
Yeah, that's the same here. Like last weekend, we did Far North Queensland, which we had to cancel a couple of dates earlier on when several of us got the flu. So we went up there and did those, and both the venues said, oh, yeah, well, it's been over a year since you were here. And the reason being is because, quite honestly, I don't think many bands here pull the same crowds that they used to in their heyday. We don't. If it was it was not unusual in those days, in your heyday, for any band to sell out room after room after room, because there was that much enthusiasm and there was that much support.
Right.
And now, because as you know, like over there's the same. I think we're talking about the same thing, the same dynamics, so to speak. Younger people don't support rock and roll, or music in clubs, stroke pubs. Here it's pubs. The way that the crowd that we grew up
Right.
with,
I think there's less of them coming to those bands too. I mean, some are coming if you bring your kids to it, so you're getting younger friends, but it's just not enough of them to make up for the difference of not having a brand new young audience all at once. It's just a deficit.
We've found that there's young, like we talked about this last time, but there's young blokes, boys, males, but all of a sudden we for some reason we're attracting a lot of very young girls, and it's kind of like 40 years too late, but they are, there might be 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 very young faces that I can see from the stage in any audience that we play at, because they're usually up the front because they want to see it and they want to get the full force of it, just like their mums and dads, as you say, did back in the day. So it's very encouraging, and it's delightful to see these eager young faces right there in front of you. Eyes of Gogh, and like, fuck, this is what all the fuss was about. So it's kind of, but they're, like I said, you'd be lucky if there was 15 or 20. There may be a few more up the back, a bit more reserved, but they are only a small component of the audiences now, because predominantly, like most bands of our kind, our type, the audiences are the staunch old guard. Well, these days it'll only be about 3 or 4.
I know.
Because
that's all I need. Learn too. I'm ready for a nap.
Absolutely, yeah. It's. I was saying that the other day. It's funny that you should say it. Well, it's a sign of the times. But
I should actually say, everybody, welcome to the show, because we never start officially.
Well, the thing about it is that we drove.
We've talked like 16. We've done like a bunch of shows, so at this point it's just a continuation. So we welcomed you back 5 years ago.
Thank you.
So continue.
It's the the ongoing. It's a work in progress. We'll probably be doing this in 10 years. And just talking reflectively, like about what was, but which we spend a fair bit of time on doing anyway. But anyway, the 2 gigs that we were talking about, even the first one was like a couple of hours drive from the airport. And then the next day's drive, which was from a town halfway up Queensland, which is the big pointy bit. And it was like a 4+ hours drive to the next gig, right? So we get in there around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And the first thing we did was we go into the bar. We go in and check out the room, and see what the stage is like, the setup, blah, blah, blah. And then we go straight to the bar and have a draft beer. And on both occasions, like you'd have we have what these things call schooners. So it's kind of like, not too sure how, I think it's 12 or 15 ounces, but it sounds
kind of larger than regular beer.
It's a big glass. And anyway, after a couple of them, because we take turns buying beers, and I said, after the first day, I said, I'll just have a glass, what they call a glass, which is 10 ounces. So it had 2 schooners, and then I had and I said to the other 2 in the band, I said, that I was drinking with, I said, mate, I've got to go and have a nap. And they said, yeah, us too. So we all went back to the rooms. Well, at that time, because you stay in the motel part out the back of the gig, And so it was lucky that we had a couple of hours before sound check. So we were able to have a quick nap, you know.
Put your jean vest on and you got sleep in your eyes from napping.
You know, it's just, but that's, yeah, it's just, we just accept it now. I mean,
I wouldn't drink until I started playing. I'd be like, all right, from the first beer, when the show starts, I'll drink as we go. So at the end of the night, I got the adrenaline to keep me going. If I drink way before an event, I'm done. I won't make it to the event.
No, same here, same here. Like I said, if it wasn't for that couple of hours,
yeah,
you can have a nap and just sleep it off.
Youth is wasted on the youth, right? I never understood that until I was old.
Yeah, really. It's one of the most illuminating parts of this whole thing that we're talking about.
It's like being a superhero and losing your powers.
Well,
and know what your powers were and being like, I could do this before. You know?
Yeah. Do you know,
I could do.
I was saying a couple of years ago, I remember saying part of my new rhetoric was, well, there's two ways to go. You can go into denial, or you can just go, you know what? I accept it. You know, I'm 70 something years old. In those days, I was like 73, 74. And it's, you know, it's not like you can change it, Sean. I mean, the inevitability of the passage of time is just something. It's a very sobering part of your life when you really, you know, you get to the point where you think, yeah, like.
Do you feel perspective though? Like your age, like who you're hanging out with? Like if I'm hanging out with younger people, I feel older. You know what I mean? Like here's an example. Like when you're young and you had people that were like my grandparents, like in their 40s or 50s. I think they were so old. And you actually see pictures of the day and they put the ages on them of like the old TV celebrities. And you're like, they looked a lot older. Now, I have to say, like when my kids were really young, we were at somewhere, a museum, and I was hosting a field trip. I used to be like father, I do the group, I had my group, and we're looking at a display. It was all like Leonardo da Vinci, all of his designs. And I was saying how smart he was, and I was talking about it and whatever, and how great he was. And then someone goes, "Oh, did you know him? Did you go to school with him?" How old do you think I am? Because that's the youth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did you go to school with him? I had to murder you.
Yeah, really.
But the point is, like, who you hang out with, this like depends on how old you are. If you hang out with older people, you feel young.
Well, you see, again, again just fragmenting just for a second. There's a lot of stuff that comes up on Facebook where people are going, particularly in certain American cities, they're going on to university campuses, and they're sort of saying things like, "What's the capital of Europe?"
What's the capital of Europe?
The capital of Europe. You know, it's a trick question, and the younger people will say things like Paris, and not knowing that it's the capital of France.
Right.
There is no capital of Europe.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen those before too. Those kind of questions. It crushes my heart to know those people like driving cars and taking care of living human beings. I'm like, oh.
Well, but it's the same. You know, when it first started to happen, it was all about certain states or certain campuses in America, and then they started to do it here in Australia. There's a few, I think they're called podcasters or whatever, but they go on to university campuses or just in the street at train stations, and I just walk up to people and I'll ask them, you know, topical questions, and I say like, who's the Prime Minister of Australia? They don't know. I mean, you hear his name mentioned every day on the news. And what it sort of indicates to me is that if they're watching the news, they zone out when certain things come on, certain subjects. And I think there's a lot to be said that a lot of young people have lost so much faith in the political system, you know, the way it works, because they're told every day, in one way or another, that it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, I'll say two things. First off, I would say the follow-up to that one, if they say that, go, how long do you think your body can live without water? A lot of people say a day, 2 days. Like, so see how far their lack of knowledge goes. Is it just political or does it go to common sense?
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, but let's face it, government is just a business. They're just a business, and every 4 years or wherever you're at, sometimes new employees and new CEOs come in. And generally, no one likes anybody who's running any of the businesses ever.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's an announcement just been made, and the government's now being asked to clarify this announcement, which has just been made. Now, they didn't publicly put this announcement out there. It was discovered by a journalist. And our Prime Minister has just come back from a trip to India, talking to several prime ministers because, you know, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of younger people don't realize that Africa's not a country, it's a continent. India is not a country, it's a continent, and it's made up, both of those places are made up of a multiplicity of countries,
right?
You know, like nations, if you like, that make up the continent of and Australians are very much forgiven for that, I suppose, in the same way as Americans, because America is a continent made up of states. They're all states of America, whereas the same thing in Australia. They're all states of Australia, whereas in India, there's completely different countries make up what we know as the continent of India, and the same with Africa. You know, there's, I think, 15 or more major countries. You know, because Africa's very, very much
huge,
coming into the news in recent times because they're starting to flex their muscles, so to speak, and it's worrying Europe, and I think it must be some concern to America too, because the new African leaders are saying, well, we're no longer going to allow Europe and or America to come in and take all our mineral wealth
resources. Yeah.
And to a certain extent, that's what should be happening in Australia, but it's not, because Australia is potentially immensely mineral rich. And we're now just beginning to find out that both sides, the right and the left, they're supposed to be in opposition towards one another. And as you quite rightfully say, we're now starting to realize that no, they've been in cahoots with one another, and they've given away, quite literally. There are third world countries that could well afford to buy our gas, but we've given them gas to help their economy because they're a third world country. And I'm just like, no one ever said during an election campaign in the history of the country to the Australian electorate, we're going to give these countries gas to help them get on their feet. Not once did anyone mention that. And that money that could be derived from the sale of our gas, our oil, to a lesser extent, you know, that money could be well used here, because there's a lot of poverty. That's another thing a lot of people don't realise. There's a lot of poverty in Australia at the moment. I mean, there's, you know, they're going to import. Anyway, just getting back to a political point I was going to make. The Prime Minister's just been caught out. He's been over in India talking to several countries within India about supplying builders or building, you know, labour in other words, licensed builders, but also, concreters and the whole bit. Because we've now got, because of this mass immigration that they're forcing on us, we've got this shortage of housing. People can't afford to live in a house. I mean, and when Australians, like a year or so ago, were shown pictures of people camping in the bush. It started in the bush outside of country towns because, they had amenities. They had tap water and they had toilets, public toilets to go to. But then like about a year ago, they started showing up tents, like people living in tents started showing up in public parks within the city limits.
We have that here now.
Unheard of. And when these people were asked, like, what are you doing? They said, well, we used to rent. And it's like 2-income families in some cases, Sean. Mm-hmm. So hubby's a tradesman, he works. And, she might be a nurse or a school teacher or whatever, work in a coffee shop, whatever. And they've got 2 or 3 kids at school and they lived in a rental house because they couldn't afford to buy. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when they first started as a family, they weren't able to afford a house. So they rent. Rents were low. It was okay. These future predictions made by, some of the great minds, the great thinkers of our time, they all said at some stage, countries are going to where rivers don't recognize borders. Neither does rainfall. Mm-hmm. But they said future wars will be fought over food and water.
And there's the irony of you talking about this being part of Bartertown is kind of funny. I just want to put that out there.
I love the way your mind works. Now, I've got to tell you something, which we were just in, we did this big sort of ute muster, like a country, huge. I've never seen so many camper vans and caravans. Mm-hmm. And, we've got these things out here, that utes with the whole back of the ute, like a flat back tray.
A tent, right? Isn't like a ute like a tent?
Yeah, well, they build them onto the back. They build them onto the back of the ute, right? So they're specifically.
Oh, because you gotta understand that not everyone's from where I'm from, down south. A ute is a slang for youth. When they talk, that's a ute. It's a youth.
Yeah.
So a ute is more like of a portable home type of tent pop-up situation.
Bingo.
Sort of. Yeah. Just so people get an idea of what you're talking about.
Ute is short for utility. I love that. What was his name? And he's in court.
Yes, exactly. From that thing.
My cousin Vinny.
Yep.
Hey, utes. The utes.
Exactly.
And the guy, fucking, that was just hilarious.
But it's funny because like when you started saying ute, I'm thinking, a youth thing. Like until you got to the second thing. Because, I wanted to clear it up for anybody that might be trying to follow along.
Yeah, a ute in Australia is not a young person.
Right.
It's a vehicle. Anyway, so it's in the middle of the desert. Now, it's where there's a little bumfuck town. It's a beautiful old town, gold mining town, but it's way out bumfuck nowhere, right on the edge of the Great Desert. It's called Bendigo. And Bendigo, Broken Hill. And it was where the second Mad Max.
The Thunderdome?
No, that was the third.
Oh, wait. Road Warrior.
Well, Broken Hill, the desert out the back of there, going west into the interior, that's where the second Mad Max. So they've got a Mad Max museum there, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's very, and it's a beautiful old, it's a city. It was a city, small city. course, it's population depleted these days because once the gold, well, they still mine gold there now, but they don't need as many people to do it. But it's funny, you know, because there was a local guy there, and he's a mechanic, and he built a replica of all the vehicles in the second.
Wow.
Yeah, really. So he's got this sort of mini museum.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's cool, and to me, as much I love those movies, but to me also, those were scary. Like I could watch horror movies and like enjoy the drama, the scare jumps, right? But to me, growing up, maybe because I have autism, what was scary was the prospect of Road Warrior. Those things I felt were the future. Not worried about make-believe monsters or Godzilla or whatever. To me, the world going apocalypse from war is it's always been in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm at a point now where I can't even watch those kind of movies anymore.
I think there's an argument, Sean, for the fact that I'm not sure it'll be the whole world, because we now know that they've built around the world, predominantly in America, we're told, small underground cities that have been built over the last 30 years, 40 years. Like,
where have you heard that?
Oh, just,
when you say we've heard that, you make it sound like you got a meeting or a group.
No, we've
heard. Oh, we've heard.
You can only believe half of what you see on Facebook anyway. But there's lots of different independent outlets now, of all online, where they're starting to join up dots, etc. Like
yeah, I get that.
The hidden. Are you aware of that? They said the real hidden history of our world. I think they're called Tartarians. I'm going to read more about them, but I saw this one only a week or so ago. The original diagram of the Eiffel Tower. Now, what they've from this diagram, and there's photographs, but then again with AI, you can make these.
That's the hard part nowadays too, though. As we're discovering these things, there's so many fakes out there now.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can't try. People fall for them so easy that it's like, oh,
yeah,
it muddies the water again.
So it's sort of what it brings into focus is that you once upon a time you say, well, you can only believe half of what you hear. Well, now these days, how much of what you see can you believe? But there's this drawing and there's photographs, supposed photographs, black and white, grainy, of the Eiffel Tower with all this structure around the base of it. And it was that guy, Tesla, he wanted to supply the world with free energy. Yep. And he built the tower. He designed and built that tower to generate power from the cosmos,
right,
to power Paris. Now that we've been told that the Eiffel Tower, like many other historic, badly explained buildings, of architecture, let alone structure, that just defy reason. How, like some of the cathedrals in Europe, I mean, were they built by over a few hundred years, admittedly, by people who chiseled stone, with iron tools, or so there's this whole thing, this information coming out about what they call the Tartarian Empire. And so Tesla, getting back to him, he was one of the last that had some grasp on the technological knowledge that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and so there's these drawings of the Eiffel Tower and supposedly these early photographs before they took the where the power came down through the tower. And there was these buildings around the base of it. Now, there's evidence that was supposedly there's evidence that they were dismantled and they repaved it, and you can't, you know.
That makes it hard because things like that, the more they feel like there's some basic truth in something, a potential, and you can't 100% prove it, that's what really makes it hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're like, it does sound really good. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I mean, it does. It looks like something could be there. That's what makes stuff even harder. Because I'm like, well, I mean, and governments do lie, and it looks like it could be.
Yeah.
But it could also be just made up. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, just things in general. You're like, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
It's like the conspiracy over pyramids.
No,
like we
that's
were
hard. I can't swallow any natural building it here. That one, that's just cherries to the gods, my friend. I'm sorry.
The thing about it is that is it less logical to at least entertain the idea that they were built around the globe? Because we've even got pyramids in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our scientists of, you know, only in the last 100 years have said to the government, we want to go and excavate this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see them when you're driving past them, you're driving down the highway, they're a pyramid. And these scientists, and this is approved, this is true, they've gone to the government and said, we want to raise money to excavate, and they won't give them permission. They've locked them up in national parks. You're not allowed to even climb them.
Really?
Why? If it's not true, then allow people to go and knock themselves out. Yeah. You know. But anyway, long story short.
But that is a weird one. I'm saying I actually believe. Yeah, I have a hard time believing any of the things they've said that were made on Earth. Like, I have a hard time finding humans making that, and then also being very primitive. Like, if they were smart to do that, then I would expect society for them to be way different.
Absolutely.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So you say they built that? That is genius, and we can't figure out with all of our tools nowadays to do that, and they figured it out. But everything else is just primitive compared to you know, the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that.
Well, so do I, Sean, because the thing about it is, it's like with our Australian Aboriginals, but going back to the Egyptians, so they understood mathematics that we've only discovered in the last 50 years. The complexity of the mathematics that designed those and built those mathematically accurate buildings out of stone to what is it? 0.0001 of a meter or something, like something minuscule, you know, correction.
Right.
They had the technology, the mathematics to do that, but they didn't do anything else with it.
Right.
Do you know, that's the thing that I've always said, Sean, is that, and I've been saying this, I learnt this from early. I think one of the first books, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, back in the 70s, I mean, there were several books, right? There was, 1984, there was Animal Farm, there was blah, blah, there was a spate of books, but there was a couple of books, and one book changed my view forever on just about everything, and it was about a book I'm not too sure. I'm going to try and there was an American writer called Alvin Toffler, and he wrote a book called Future Shock, and it was huge. Number one bestseller for back and ever. and it was a huge book during the 70s.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it up right now so I don't forget it. The guy's name by is Chase Hughes. Chase Hughes, like chase, like chasing somebody, and Hughes, Hugh, Hes.
uh-huh.
He worked for the government, but now he works for nobody. Now he just kind of puts it out there. It just has information. He's got a lot of books out too, like that. Smart dude, just kind of gives you
Chase Hughes,
information to use it.
Hughes.
CHA, like Chase, like normal Chase, and
Yeah,
Hughes is Hughes. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Like Howard.
yeah,
Howard
yeah.
Hughes.
Howard Hughes, exactly. Chase Hughes. He
Now, see, there was a guy, madman or genius, and
usually the same thing, right?
history is peppered with people of incredible vision, but they're always so eccentric, if you like, that they bordered on being madmen. Pardon me. And it was put, this is not a new concept. That maybe it's kind of like, okay, the thing that's come into common language is attention deficit syndrome. Now it's autism. Now we find out the people with attention deficit syndrome or mildly autistic, even quite severely autistic people, if they're taught to be able to communicate, they're brilliant.
It's a spectrum, though. And
so in other words, what science is now starting to discover is that these people that are non-verbal in the case of autism, and there's different levels of autistic behavior or autism as a syndrome. But once you break down the barriers of autism itself, and you are able then to get through to these people, because as you know, a lot of them are emotionally isolated. They isolate
Absolutely.
themselves. But once you can break down the barriers of misunderstanding about how to communicate with them or allow them to communicate, we're now finding out some of them are absolutely intellectually brilliant.
Everything has been done has been by someone with autism generally. Like
Yeah.
California, Silicon Valley is almost all autistic. It depends on the level. And I'll say it's not from vaccines because you can trace it back. It used to be called mental retardation mixed in with autism. And I'm not saying right. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't diagnosed the same. And the other thing a lot of people with autism can do, like I didn't realize it. You mask it. There's like I have many deficits, but one of the things for me being nonverbal is doing a show has challenged me.
Yeah.
I also grew up without any schooling and help on that. So I didn't find out till I was an adult. And not right now when everyone's getting diagnosed. I got diagnosed many years back when it was still Asperger's and autism. But the point is there's certain tests, clinical tests, to find out certain deficits are high and low. And that's how it balances out. You do know certain things, but like I have my most success when I'm allowed, like at work with computers. Like my boss doesn't give me like many rules. I just do the same thing. I just do it way differently,
Yeah.
And it's just as successful. But like this show, talking to 600 people in a flash of an eye, you know what I mean, has taken me into a situation now where it's increased my skills.
Yes. Or expose them.
Well, expose them. I mean, I know my weaknesses, but I knew doing the show, it would challenge it. And me being a father, I can say to my kids, don't, because it's your weakness, don't not do it. Dive into it.
Yeah. But real skills, real talent is I mean, you can learn to play a guitar, but the ability to play a guitar is a talent, or it's a skill, or so it's already there.
There is some music that's different. I mean, to me, like the balance for me is I'm not autistic enough where I like have a superpower, like I'm thinking I'm something fantastic, But that's the good thing is I have enough. We have social skills where I beat the numbers. I'm married. I have kids. You know what I mean? I have stability. Like that's not normal either. Nothing's normal about me. But the point is, like, if I was too far the other way, if I went too far in the meter anymore with any other focus, I would be great at one thing, but then everything else, I would be, like you said, my social skills would be the worst. You know?
Yes. Yeah. Well, when you say yes, I mean,
and that's different than everybody else having ADHD nowadays, by the way. There's a total difference in that.
Because I mean,
it's too much.
You might be inadequate at something, but once you learn to, and I think that's what's happening with autistic people and attention deficit people. It's a way, because they don't fit in like before when you said, like, there's nothing normal about me. Define normal. You know, like,
well, I can talk to music people though, because you guys are all freaks too. I've always, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a different openness in the career. Our community is easier to be autistic in without seeking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have known talking to me.
No. Au contraire, exactly the opposite.
If you worked with me every day, you'd be like, you got autism, Sean. Trust me, there's possibly things I do.
Personality identification, so to speak. And they talked about the known historic people, which included some of our greatest artistic talents, scientists, you know, like obviously Einstein, and he wasn't the greatest scientist we ever had. You know, there were other notable people,
right?
You know, and they were analysing, or the person who wrote the book was diagnosing, or if you like, or analysing on what was known of them,
right?
And
which is all you can do for people in the past at this point.
Well, people like Van Gogh, for instance, you know, and or others like him.
Da Vinci, I mean, he had to have had autism. Nobody can think like that on their own.
That's the point. The thing about it is that there were other artists around at the time. Were one of them, I think Monet. Was he the one that did, like?
Yeah, I think he did the. It was like, yeah, I didn't talk about. It's called.
Yeah, but my wife's an artist.
She'll kill me. I know what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, and there was another one with a very short name, like Shay or something. But there was a group of them that lived and worked around Paris, and they were all acquainted with one another. And there might have been, like, there was even this, they analysed that woman. She wrote as a male, but she was a woman. But she used a male's name to be published.
That was the only way. Right. Back then, it was the only way to get published.
And also affected dress of a male. And hung around with blokes, artists, and they all knew about her. They didn't worry them because, you know, they're all very eccentric people. But yeah, so what this book was sort of trying to do, I think, was to point out some people that we've thought of as being eccentric. I love the word eccentric.
I'll embrace it.
Yeah, I do ardently, because it says so much. Eccentricity is a wonderful thing. But
all the things I've been called in my life, I take that word over being stupid. I take eccentric every time. You know?
You do.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, because growing up with autism, you either, what are you, stupid, or you're eccentric. I'll take eccentric every time.
You can be. You can be.
You know?
Well, back in the day, of course, I was a grown man before I came across eccentricity as a condition, if you like, or whatever. But yeah, so what this bloke was pointing, this analyst was pointing out, that a lot of incredibly brilliant people had this other side to them where they just didn't fit in. Some of them even to the point where the reason that they were drug addicts back in the day when there weren't that many drugs around, opium being the predominant one, and or alcoholics. And some of them were even to the point where their behavior was considered to be antisocial, or they were, in some cases, Oscar Wilde being one. I mean, he was arrested and jailed supposedly for homosexuality, but some of them were confined to institutions inevitably, or spent time in them. Get their head right, so to speak. Yeah.
Because if you couldn't speak or you couldn't do something, like I had deficits growing up that if I was pushed in that world, I could have gotten in a worse situation. I just happened to have a little more freedom, and a little different chutzpah in me to push myself to lean the other way. And not everyone's lucky.
Well, we've talked about this on one previous occasion where, you take shelter in music because it offers you.
It's my trains. It's my trains. That's why I'm so good at it.
And it allowed you to be that different person in an area where, like you said before, in your own words, that you didn't stick out that much, because and going back to Van Gogh and that clutch of artists, there were 6 or 8 of them, like possibly more, but some of them went on to become incredibly famous for their works. And each of them was, I'm pretty sure the reason I mentioned Monet was because he invented this style, which was like, impressionists and blah, blah, blah. But I remember I've got several books on Van Gogh, and one just on his works. And, people don't realize how prolific he actually was. And went through periods where he painted, like songwriters do. You go through different periods where you write songs about that, and then 10 years later you find yourself writing.
Wasn't he bipolar? I think he was bipolar too, right? He was manic at times. I think he was bipolar also. Van Gogh.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but he's the way he expressed himself through the different periods of his career. And I remember reading in the book that turned me on to him was called Lust for Life, and it was written in the 70s and about Van Gogh. And I remember this one phrase struck me because it saddened me deeply at the time. And then I came, and it's, has he descended further into his madness? And I just thought, because he did, he just faded, like he went further and further and further and further and further. But I mean, I think to myself, well, yes, but that was the core of his genius. He's from that place that he descended into. Could that not be the same place? That's where his brilliance, to be able to, capture those moments in paintings.
Or that was just his weakness. That was his deficit, and his brilliance was elsewhere. And you give one to get one. You know what I'm saying? It's always like those movies. Would you choose this for the world to live? But your one favorite thing's gonna have to go away. Die. Like it's those. One or the other. I think one of the things with people with autism, I don't know if people realize it, and it used to feel like a negative, like they call people, Aspies or whatever. I hate the term, and call you people like you normal people. It was always like normal people.
Normal people.
And I don't like that because every try to be normal. I'm like, honestly, normal people don't usually build and create these things. They're not that empathetic. They're very one-sided. They like what they like. Like having autism and being in certain groups, like you said, you're an artist. They don't care how people dress. I don't care what their gender is or their sexuality, what they call themselves. I don't care about anything. I care about humanity, creativity, and then being fair. And you can work from there. It's a starting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You normal people got a lot of problems, a lot of finger pointing. Whereas us, we start off with the basis of empathy, the ones that can communicate, because we've already been judged probably, or grew up as outsiders, really outsiders, socially not being able to talk to people when you're young and being, what I mean, a nerd or whatever at some points, but a lot of them have autism. So the views I think are very different also coming into it than people on the spectrum, really on the spectrum, not people that are self-diagnosing because they're reading an article online. People that have been gone to doctors and really do it. You know what I mean? Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, "Oh, I must have autism." I'm like, dude, you do not have autism.
We will.
I'll reach out again. We'll do this again soon.
Always a pleasure, Sean. You know that.
Bye, man. Take care, buddy.
See you, brother.
Bye, bye.